and welcome back to Aseel by Sketchbook. The sun is a little bit too direct at me right now, but anyways, let's just ignore that fact and let's move to this video. Some of the wonderful people on Instagram left me a question on how to render an elevation or a plan using Photoshop. And I know how intimidating this can be at first, so this is why I want to take you with me, show you some techniques, things that might be like shortcuts and how-tos on Photoshop. We'll start by opening AutoCAD, what do we export it as, and then we open it on Photoshop. Disclaimer, I haven't learned any of these things professionally, but I've learned them myself, and this is why I tend to explain them easier than others. So if you are a Photoshop expert and you have a better way, please leave it down below. So without further ado, let's get to this video. Please note that yesterday I made the mood board tutorial. You can find more tips about Photoshop. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using the living room in this project. So what I'm going to do, I've changed a few things in it as well. I'm just going to show you how to plot. Before you plot, make sure that all of your lines are closed. So I'm going to plot. You can type plot or Ctrl P. I'm going to plot it DWG to PDF. This is the ideal plot for Photoshop. And whatever size that you require, I'm okay with A1, so I'm going to use that. And I'll just select the window that I want to plot in, make sure that it fits to paper so it's like fills the paper, and I'm gonna click OK. I'm just gonna save it on the desktop. As you can see, it's already plotted, so what I need to do right now is to import it to Photoshop. I'm just gonna open it and I'm just gonna check the page. It's just one page, so I'm gonna click OK. You preferably want your resolution to be at 300, so you're gonna say OK. Now, first thing you're gonna notice, remind me later. First thing you're gonna notice is that you cannot see lines properly, so we're gonna fix that. We'll create a layer and we will move it down, and then we will name it background. Now you can see the lines a little bit more, but it's still not perfect and you cannot really see what you're filling in. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the layer and you're going to name it base. Don't lock the background because you don't want to mess with it, but for the base, you're going to right click and go to blending options. We talked about blending options in yesterday's video, and now I'm going to demonstrate in depth how to work with it. I'm going to click on stroke. Just increase the stroke to be 1 pixel. Now we're going to click OK. Everything is like clear enough. Lock your base, because once you lock your base, you cannot do anything with it and you're not going to mess with it. With the magic wand tool, I'm going to select the walls first, so I can define the space. See, because all of my lines are closed, it's easy for me to select. If you want precise selection, by the way, you can just click on caps lock and you're gonna make a new layer. You will name it walls. I just shifted the background to the foreground color and I made it black. I'm just gonna fill in this layer. Make sure you are filling in the right layer, because later on you'll have like 100 layers and you will not know what you're dealing with. Now, because we selected already, I want to deselect, so what do? I click on Ctrl D and the deselect is activated. We go to walls, blending options, and we drop the shadow. I like to see my walls perfectly well before I do anything else. You can distort the size a little bit so it shows that this surface is high. I'm gonna select something that is grayish. Okay, done. So now your walls are defined. You want to define your ground just because you know where you're working with. But before I do that, I've noticed that I've done a little mistake here. And this is like a coffee station, right? It's not closed. You remember how I told you to close your lines? But it's good that it's not closed because I can show you in the tutorial how to fix that. Go to your base layer and unlock it and go to the pencil tool. Color is already there and you are on your base layer, and what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to that point, that tip, and you're gonna click shift while you're moving so it creates a straight line. Now that I've properly closed the line, I'm gonna lock my base back and everything is in place as I want it to be. Everything is closed. So let's start with the bigger surfaces. The biggest surface here is the flooring. So I know that I want a touch of wood. If we go back to the mood board, I want this color of wood. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go again to the magic wand tool. I'll create a new layer and I'll name it floor. Make sure you're selecting on the base layer before you move to the other layer. So I'm gonna select on this layer, and to select two items you have to click shift while selecting. And now I want to add my flooring. What I'm gonna be typing on Google is seamless wood texture. Honestly, for personal use, I know that you can use things and you can credit people. You want to look at the closest thing you have to the pictures that you have in your mood board. I feel like this is about right. So I'm going to copy the image and I'm going to go back to Photoshop and I'm going to open a new file. It already has the clipboard size and I'm going to click OK, Ctrl V. And you have your flooring. It's not in the correct color, so I'm gonna click on Ctrl+U. I'm gonna dial down the saturation and the lightness and move the hue for it to be just like warm enough. So now that we have the correct shape of the flooring and the color as well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna define it as a pattern. So I'm gonna go to Edit, Define Pattern, and I'm gonna name it Wood. Now I'm gonna go to my floor layer. From our tool option, you're gonna see next to the paint bucket here, you're gonna see an option with a pattern on it. So you can choose that and you can choose the pattern that you have defined. Just fill it in. Now that I filled it in, I feel like the scale is a little off. So how can I adjust that? Well, you can't adjust it from here, but if you right click on the layer and you go to blending options, you can go immediately to pattern overlay and you can choose the pattern you've defined already, and you're going to choose the scale to be bigger. This looks round right. If you have drawn in AutoCAD the flooring, then you can avoid this mess, but I haven't done that. I'm pretty satisfied with the result right now. So I'm gonna click OK. Now the other big surfaces, I'm gonna choose the countertop next. I'm gonna do the exact same step. If I would go back to our mood board, I find the linen has a nice presence here, and I find this beautiful metallic surface. Now we have furniture that is observed from the top view, and we need to make it as realistic as possible. The way I do that is two ways I have. The first way is to basically go to Google and to write, for example, armchair top view. See, I already have it, but I want to look for something that matches the mood I have. So I will be using that. I will simply copy this image and then go back to Photoshop and I'll click paste. It's already pasted, but it's behind, so I'm gonna drag this layer on top, and as you can see, it's really small. I'm gonna scale it a little bit bigger, hold the shift button while working, and then rotate to match up the size of the chair. Now there's two ways of removing the background. You can either select it with the magic wand tool and then you'll have the black all selected depending on how much your tolerance. If you increase your tolerance, more colors or more hues of the color will be included. So 30 is pretty ideal for this situation. I just click delete and I'm gonna deselect by clicking Ctrl D. Now let's do the same thing for the sofas. And with the rug, honestly, if you go to any website, I'm gonna go to IKEA. Lohas is my favorite and it's kind of my go-to. Okay, I'm gonna choose the 200 by 300 centimeters rug. And I copied the image and I'm just gonna paste it, scale it correctly. I'm gonna use the magic eraser tool just to remove the background of this rug. Now that we have this, we're just gonna copy it by holding the Alt key. And now that we have it, we can see that this layer is actually underneath it. This is why you should name your layers. I'm gonna merge it down, and now that we have it in one layer, it's already named rug. 2 more armchairs, and I know the ones that I'm gonna be using. And I'm gonna go to the chairs folder, and these are the chairs, either this or this, that I want to use in the design. Let's choose this chair. It kind of matches the visual goal that we have. So now that we have it, it's in 3D, and I want to bring it as a top view. Now that I have it on top view, I'm going to, of course this is SketchUp by the way, in case you don't know, and I'm gonna remove the shadow so I can get a clear picture out of it. And I'm also gonna remove the edges. I removed the edges and profile as well, just so I can get a clear image of this chair. I'm gonna click File, Export, 2D Graphic, and I'm gonna save it as a chair. And I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna drag it onto Photoshop. And this is another way to get the top view for things. Again, I'm gonna go to my magic eraser. When you drag an object onto Photoshop, it's going to be a smart object. So when you want to work on it, you have to disable the smart object thing. When it tells you, do you want to rasterize it, you say okay. And you remove the background. And there you have it. You have a chair that you also have as a 3D model, which is also a good thing. And I'm just gonna place it where it belongs. Now that I'm looking at this, I don't think I need this much of a big rug underneath here. I think I'll just have the fur, like a faux fur thing underneath the chairs, but I don't think I need the rug here. So I'm gonna go to my base layers. I'm gonna go to my flooring, and I'm going to remove the lock. If you paint it in foreground or if you paint it with a pattern, it will not show anyway, so you're gonna deselect it. Now that you have your windows like this, you probably know the lighting direction from the shadow. I'm gonna create an illusion of the light. Choosing the polygonal lasso tool, I'm gonna select the edge of the window and I'm gonna create a shape. One time I'm gonna create that, and I'm gonna name this layer light. Just make an illusion of the sun getting inside of the room. See, these kind of touches are the things that make or break a design, to be honest. And if you go to your paint bucket, you're gonna find, right click on there, and you're gonna find the gradient tool. I'm just gonna choose a very warm yellow, kind of to resemble the sunshine. Make sure your opacity is low, so probably 12, 11 will be nice, and drag that light from the window onto the floor in the same line that you already have. If you feel that the intensity is not enough, you just do that again. You deselect, and then you have this nice, very beautiful sunshine light entering the room. I'm gonna copy that and I'm gonna take it to the other window just to get the exact same. Merge them together. You merge it down by clicking Ctrl+E. This looks nice, but it also doesn't look very natural. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my eraser tool. I'm gonna choose the fuzzy kind of brush. Make sure that the size is big enough to see. And I'm gonna make sure that the opacity is low, so it doesn't remove all of the light. Smooth it out. Next, I'm gonna be adding shadows to the objects that I already have. So for example, for the sofa, I'm gonna go to blending options, and I'm gonna go click on drop shadow. Your shadow on the furniture should not be as much as the shadow on the wall, just because the walls are higher, and you'll give a better illusion of reality when you pay attention to these kind of details. So we're gonna make sure that the distance is lower, the spread is a little higher, and the size is in the middle. Now, to make sure that your furniture all get the same shadow, by right-clicking on the layer and going to copy layer style, selecting your other furniture pieces and pasting the layer style will give you the exact same shadow. Now with the magnetic lasso tool, I'm going to trace around the shape of the chair for the dining chair. I'm gonna do the exact same steps, so this is why I'm speeding things up, because if something I've already talked about, I'm just depending on my visual identity, which is my mood board, and then I'm going ahead with it. Sometimes what helps create a more realistic illusion is to make surfaces more beveled. For example, the dining table as an example, I'm gonna go to the layer style and I'm gonna go to blending options and I'm gonna click bevel and emboss. Instead of up, I'm gonna click it down. So I want it to have this effect of a little bit of curviness on the edges. So I will change up the settings to like for the size to be less. For the highlight, I want something that is more believable than white. So I'm gonna take the lightest shade on this caramel, rusty, metallic color. Can you imagine this as a dining table? This would be gorgeous as a dining table. As you can see right now, all of the elements are colored, and you know, few things are added like the coffee machine and the oven and also the fridge. So right now it still looks lifeless, to be honest. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tweak it. We're gonna style it like we're styling an interior. Personally, I feel like if you don't style an interior, it remains, unless you're very minimalistic, it remains very dry. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add that hint of yellow in the pillows, and we're gonna create few moments here and there to make it look good and to show the functionality of each area. So let's do that. Find creative solutions. If you feel like you want to find something and you cannot find it, then probably even like, for example, I'm using this sweater right now just to get like this shape because I want something that looks like it's fabric. And I can simply take it out of this sweater, paste it here and skew it a little bit. If you remember in yesterday's tutorial, I have talked about warping and skewing, so I'm just going to skew it to make it look like organic and flowy, although it's originally a sweater. I got to a very essential part, and that is lighting. I have added this floor lamp and I want to add light to it so it shows what it is, because right now you can't tell what it is. So I'm gonna right click on the layer, go to blending options. It immediately gave you the effect. It's just that it's a matter of playing around with the settings until you get to the desired effect. And I would suggest you to not have it completely in white, just because like a regular lamp have a yellowish hue to it, you know what I mean. I'm gonna add another lamp just to demonstrate to you how to do that again, but in a different way. So I'm gonna add this lamp to this area right here because I feel it's not lit completely well. I'm gonna select the circle, make it into another layer, and I'm going to go to blending options. I'll have the outer glow, of course, but I also want to have the inner glow so it shows what it is. As a final step, I would urge you to take the walls layer, just that and drag it on the top so the shadow of the wall overcomes the shadow of everything else. I would also tell you to go to your base layer and just make it disappear, and by that you're going to be removing any weird lines that is left. As you can see, we have this line right here, or if you want to keep your base layer, you can just simply go to it and definitely remove the lock before you do that, and delete any weird lines that you might see or anything that is weird. With that, I'm gonna be concluding my tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you got something out of it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you like it. If you have any questions, pop them down below and then I will answer them as much as I can. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It will support me a lot. If you want to get notified for the content that I'm gonna be posting, then please subscribe and hit the bell next to it so you can receive a notification every time I upload. I am uploading daily for now, but I upload Saturday usually. So thank you so much for watching and have a great time of the day wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.